Hey Tribe, welcome back. Give me just a second to explain this video really fast. And because I was just going through, again, The Law and the Promise by Neville Goddard. And now I've been through the book several times, but to be honest with you, this wasn't really my favorite book of Neville Goddard, just because like most of the chapters are only like 2 or 3 paragraphs. Then the whole rest of the chapter are all stories by people he's mentored and clients and stuff like that. So I never really got into their stories. You know what I mean? I always want to know, what does Neville Goddard think? So it wasn't really my favorite book. But this time I was going through it again and I thought, well, I'm going to pay attention to the stories. I want to read all the stories and stuff like that. But there's one connection with almost all his stories. Not every one, but every story that if his client mentioned like how long it took to manifest, how long it took for imagination to create reality, one of the things I found was that in every story, it was 3 or 4 weeks. From the time they started, the imagination creates reality and drifted off to sleep, 3 or 4 weeks later, they manifested what they wanted. And at first, I kind of caught this because I was going through all the chapters and I was kind of thinking like, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? And because at first glance, you start thinking, wait a second, like, is this whole thing immediate gratification? Because that's what people's going to think nowadays. Like, oh, it's just like nowadays you jump on YouTube and people say, oh, do this manifesting technique and manifest within 24 hours. Lots of times it's kind of grabbing a hold of immediate gratification. And if something don't happen fast enough for you, you tend to kind of look for the how, search for the how, jump to a new technique. When it's not really the technique itself, it's actually you. You understand what I'm saying? So in this video, what we're going to do is we're really going to talk about this timestamp of 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, does it really exist? And if it does, why? Like, why do I see like a pattern with all his stories? Now, granted, when Neville Goddard put the book together, The Law and the Promise, granted, he probably received hundreds of letters from people he's mentored and stuff like that. So he probably picked out the best examples per chapter and stuff like that. But when he picked out the best examples, most of the examples, again, is 3 or 4 weeks. So is there kind of a hidden message behind a 3 or 4 week paradigm of getting what you want? So let's jump on the computer and we'll kind of dissect this, because I wrote out 4 steps to discuss and keep me on track. So let's go. Now, let me put on my handy dandy glasses here so I can see. So point 1, what we have to talk about is the gestation period of belief. Okay, and all I mean by the gestation period is there's a lapse in time of you going inside your imagination and when you're going to materialize what you really want. Okay, that's the gestation period of belief. And it's really basically until you really believe you can have what you want, it's not going to come into your life. That's what you have to understand. And that's kind of the whole concept of law of assumption, is what you assume to be true for you will come into your life. But if you don't think it's true for you, it's not going to show up yet. Okay, but let's dissect this a little bit further. You see, every imaginal act has a psychological gestation period. Now, again, like I pointed out in The Law of the Promise, that gestation period was 3 or 4 weeks. You know what I mean? Even when I went into Elmer O. Locker's Jr. story, like everything he manifested happened within 3 or 4 weeks. So why is that? Okay. Even looking at myself, or maybe you might be thinking, okay, if this is true, what am I doing wrong? Okay. So what is this psychological gestation period? Neville called it the internal of natural delay, the time it takes for the invisible state to solidify into form. So all he's talking about is the time it takes for you to see it in your 3D world. For most people, that's around a few weeks, because that's how long it takes for the mind to stabilize in a new assumption before reality can mirror it. Okay. Now that's kind of the walk away here. Okay, now this is only true. Listen to this. This statement is only true. I'll read it one more time for you. For most people, That's around a few weeks, because that's how long it takes the mind to stabilize in a new assumption before reality can mirror it. Okay. Now, this statement is only true if you really believe, if you really just surrender to the idea of what you want. Okay. And we'll go a little bit further with this. Creation is finished, but it takes time for the unseen to become the seen. That's by Neville Goddard. Now, what does he mean by creation is finished? Is creation is, once you can see it in your imagination, it's finished. It's done. Okay. What holds it back is because of you or me, meaning that I'm looking for the how. You're searching for it. You think you can speed it up. You think you can do something for what you want to come faster into your life. But if creation is finished, what you have to understand is everything comes within you, but you can do nothing to speed it up. Okay. All the force you're doing, you're looking for the how, all you're doing is slowing it down. Okay. You understand that. So look at it this way. When someone assumes a new state with conviction and stops contradicting it, that 3 or 4 week window is often the time their old self-concept dissolves and a new one dominates. Okay, this is kind of the meat and potatoes of kind of why in the Law and the Promise, and a lot of Neville Goddard's clients, I want to call them clients, if they stated how long it took for them to get what they wanted, a lot of them was in 3 or 4 weeks, or between that 3 and 6 week period. It rather came fast. And on top of this, if you go into the Law of the Promise, okay, a lot of the stories, they're manifesting big things. You know what I mean? They're manifesting huge things that for them to come within a 3 to 4 week ratio, or even a 3 to 6 week ratio, you would kind of look at it as, as outstanding, or you'd almost look at it as, dude, that's not possible for that thing to come into your life so quickly the way it did. You know what I mean? But let's dissect this for a second. When someone assumes a new state with conviction, okay, you really believe when you go inside your imagination, you want your dream house. You really believe you have your dream house right now today. You're really living in your dream house right now today. You really believe it. That's conviction. Without a shadow of a doubt, that's conviction. You really believe you can have what you want. Okay, that's the separation. That's the whole law of assumption. Whatever you assume to be true for you has to be shown into your world. And he continued. Now, I wrote this, so I continued. Okay. When someone assumes a new state with conviction and stops contradicting it, that 3 or 4 week window is often the time the old concept dissolves and a new one dominates. So those are the two things we're really doing when we're trying to live in the yin. Okay. Now, it's easy to kind of fall asleep in this state of what we desire. Okay. We go inside our imagination, we fall asleep to it. But what are we doing in our 3D world? You get what I'm saying. And this is where conviction and belief comes along. This is where just surrendering to it. Okay. It's almost like let the dead bury the dead. You let go and let God. Okay. You let go of it. You stop controlling the how, because you totally believe what you want is going to come to you. And you totally believe it because you're living in the end. You're actually doing it. You have what you want right now today. So act like it. Okay, that's conviction. You totally believe it. But part 2 to this, in this sentence I wrote, is you got to stop contradicting yourself. Meaning that what's happening is you're trying to be that most successful version of you, but you still act like that old self. You understand what you're doing. Okay, you go to sleep at night in your imagination, you fall asleep in that state, but during your 3D world, your waking world, when you wake up, you act like your old self. Okay. That's contradicting. And that's what Neville Goddard talks a lot about this when he describes living in the yin. You got to stop contradicting yourself. Okay. And I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to be wealthy. Okay. And if you're wealthy, if it comes time to pay your bills, you just pay your bills. You kind of give no two shits about it. You just pay your bills. You give no emotion to it. Okay. Because you have enough money to pay your bills. Okay. But if you contradict that state, meaning that when you go to pay your bills, you start having internal anxiety. You start having a little temper tantrum. You start thinking like, well, why do I have to pay? It's bill time now. It's the 15th of the month. You know what I mean? Rather than blessing your bills, you tend to act like your old self. So when you act like your old self, you're contradicting the state of you being wealthy, okay? And all that's doing is slowing down what you want to come into your world. Okay, you're slowing it down. So that's why that 3 or 4 week window is there, is because if you totally believe that you can have what you want and you totally stop contradicting your actions in your 3D world, it comes to you rather quickly. And it really comes to you within a few weeks, sometimes immediately, sometimes the next day, when you just totally surrender to it. Okay, but now let's move on to part 2 here. 2 is emotional saturation happens fast. Okay. What it means is, what I mean by this, worded a little bit weird, is that as no matter what you want your dream house, okay, once you totally believe it, it can happen crazy quick for you. Okay. Faster than you think. Or some people, if you tell your story, they won't even believe you because that's how fast it happens. Listen, Neville didn't teach repetition, he taught feeling. Isn't that so true? Neville Goddard, with all the different Neville Goddard techniques and stuff like that, what he taught, he didn't teach it as like a technique or a repetition to aimlessly do over and over and over and over and over. What did he really teach? He taught feeling. That's why he said feeling the wish fulfilled. You're producing a feeling around everything you do inside your imagination. You're producing an emotion around it. You're actually doing it. Okay. And this is, I did a video on, and it's not posted yet, but I did a video on the story of Elmer O. Locker Jr., and he's in The Law of the Promise in chapter 4. And one of the things that I kind of pulled out from his story is that when he went inside his imagination and he wanted a dancing franchise, and he got his dancing franchise, but he wanted his dancing franchise to be number 1 in the whole company. Okay, because they had over 300 franchises. He wanted his to be number 1, and he wanted to be the talk of the convention. So when he went inside his imagination, he could see himself and actually be up on the stage where they're congratulating him, and he's giving this speech and talk to thousands of people on the stage. But when he went inside his imagination, the feeling was so real to him. He had knots in his stomach. He felt nervous. He felt sick to his stomach. But he wasn't really doing it. You understand what he's saying? He made the scene so real in his imagination that it came quickly to him within a few months. Okay, now that one was within a few months, but it was a huge accomplishment. Okay, and that's what we have to walk away with, is that you're producing a real feeling state inside your imagination. It's so real, you're actually doing it. And that's what Neville Goddard meant, is feeling the wish fulfilled. You're actually doing what you want to do inside your imagination. You're actually bringing in your 5 senses inside your imagination. Like if you would do something inside your imagination, but in real life it would make you nervous, well, you have to be nervous inside your imagination to make it real. I mean, think about it this way. If you pause for a second and stop for a second, if you go inside your imagination right now and you pretend like at work, you pick somebody you don't get along with. Maybe it's a boss. Maybe he just rubs you the wrong way. So it's easy for you to go inside your imagination and imagine a fight with your boss. Or maybe you do that naturally anyway. You play make-believe having arguments with your boss. And when you're sitting here inside your imagination thinking about this, isn't it weird how your attitude would change right now? You start actually feeling angry, and it's not really happening to you. It's happening inside your imagination. See, that's feeling the state. That's feeling the wish fulfilled. And that's why those things will manifest into your life, because you're bringing so much feeling to it. Okay, you're actually doing it inside your imagination. Okay, we do this without us realizing we're doing it or not. You understand? Okay, let's continue. When one of his students entered the state vividly, as though it were already true, that emotional intensity sealed the state quickly. Okay, that's what I mean. Like some of his students, for whatever reason, okay, they just looked at it as almost like a kid, almost like a child, like this. They really believed Neville for whatever reason. They really believe that if they did this, they're going to get what they want. They totally believed it and they totally surrendered to it. They didn't question it. They didn't wake up and look for the how. They weren't trying to force it. They just totally surrendered to it. And that's what speeds up the process. Okay? You have to understand that. Listen to this. Once the subconscious mind accepts it, time becomes irrelevant. Now I wrote this out a little bit different. I kind of say this in a different way, like in a lot of my videos, okay? The subconscious mind, once the subconscious mind accepts something as true, it's going to make it happen for you rather quickly. It's going to put all the puzzle pieces together for you to have exactly what you want. But to your subconscious mind, the subconscious mind, listen, is very, very illogical. It doesn't follow a pattern of current events. It's very illogical, but time is irrelevant to the subconscious mind, okay? Like time for us, for a conscious mind, we think for us to have something huge, it has to take months and years. But for our subconscious mind, it doesn't go by time. That's why things can happen fairly quickly. Listen, I'll reread it for you. Once the subconscious accepts it, time becomes irrelevant. The event appears as soon as the bridge of incidents is complete. That's why it's usually not instant, but it's also not years later. 3 or 4 weeks is the window where the outer world finishes rearranging.
Really quick here, friends. Do you want a challenge that's going to make every dream of yours come true?
You see, my friends, the issue is when you start trying to live life on your terms, you're doing everything right. See, that's the problem. That's how you feel. You're trying your hardest, but nothing is changing. Now, in the challenge, there's no fluff, there's no hype. It's just real transformation delivered daily. We are going to the core. We are going to the root cause why things are not working for you. All you got to do is go to the description, click see more. Everything will pop up and you will see the 30-day breakthrough challenge. Click the link and it'll take you right over to that.
Now let's move to step 3 here. 3 is zero resistance equals fast reflection. And we've kind of been talking about this, having zero resistance, okay? What I mean by this is like really surrendering to it, really believe, okay, stop looking for the how. When you look for the how, all you're doing is creating resistance to what you want, okay? No matter how you manipulate it, no matter what excuse you have to looking for the how, you're trying to force it to happen. Remember, any type of resistance, any type of force negates from you. So in the manifesting world, resistance means you're slowing it down, okay? You're stopping it from happening, okay? Maybe eventually it will happen, but you're really, really slowing down the process. The faster you can get into no resistance zone, the faster you can have what you want, okay? So listen, zero resistance equals fast reflection. Okay, now if we go back to Neville Goddard's students, his students weren't overcomplicating it. You have to understand this. At least the students he shared in the Law of the Promise, their stories, they weren't overcomplicating it. They just believed Neville Goddard full-heartedly. Okay, or some of his students, like Elmo O'Locker Jr., he wanted to disprove Neville Goddard. For some reason, he really wanted to disprove Neville Goddard. He really wanted to prove that Neville Goddard was a quack. Okay, what he taught was totally ridiculous. It doesn't work. And he was so emotionally charged about disproving that law of assumption wasn't real, disproving law of assumption, disproving that imagination doesn't create reality. He ended up getting what he wanted because he was so emotionally invested into disproving it. He took what Neville Goddard said, he took it full-heartedly and did everything Neville Goddard said to do, but he went into it wanted to disprove it, but he actually proved to himself that imagination does create reality because he actually got what he wanted many times forward. You understand? So listen, Neville Goddard students weren't overcomplicating it. They listen to this. They didn't overthink. They didn't question it. They didn't check in the mirror every single day, like, am I the person I want to be? They didn't look outside for their dream car. They didn't do none of that. Okay, they didn't overcomplicate it, like how we're doing it today. Most of us are overcomplicating this stuff. This stuff is rather simple, but we get in our own way. Listen, they imagine once or twice, felt the reality of it, and moved on. Dwelling there, dwelling therein, dwelling within, living the end. Naturally, that's what they did. This sentence right here is so powerful. Listen, they imagined once or twice, they felt the reality of it. They felt it real inside their imagination. They're really doing it. They really have what they want, no matter what it is. And they moved on from it. In their 3D world, what happened was once you wake up, they moved on from it. They stopped thinking about it. Okay, totally. They moved on with their day. And that's what Neville Goddard means, dwelling therein. Okay, dwelling within or living the in, meaning in your waking hours, you move on. Okay, you don't think about it no more. You only think about it when you lay down to go to sleep. Okay, you fall asleep in that state. When you wake up, you kind of give it no two shits. Okay, and that's what Neville Goddard means, living in the end. You carry yourself, you act like you already have what you want. You move on with your day. Okay, but see, that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is, if it's not working for you, when we wake up, you're constantly searching for the how. You're constantly thinking about where is it. Okay, you're not moving on from it. You're not living in the end what Neville Goddard instructs, or how Neville Goddard instructed to do it. Okay, listen to this. When there's no inner resistance, the reflection time shortens dramatically. Okay, I kind of been saying that. Okay, listen. When there's no resistance, there's no inner resistance. You're not secretly thinking about. You're not secretly looking for the how. You're not secretly thinking, where is it? You're not secretly thinking to yourself, what can I do? What can I do to speed it up? What am I doing wrong? No, all those thoughts are resistance. Okay, when you have no resistance, listen to this. The time span speeds up dramatically because you're totally just surrendering to it. You're totally just letting it go, letting it be. You're moving on with your day. Okay. It's almost like when you're a kid, when a parent asked you, what do you want for your birthday? And you told them, in the back of your mind, you knew you were going to get that present for your birthday. So you totally let it go. You didn't go to your parents 20 times asking for, are you going to get that for my birthday? You totally let it go. Okay. So that's what you got to do. Okay. When you do these exercises, when you set an intention, you go inside your imagination, you have to train yourself to let it go. And the more you believe it true for you, it's going to be easier to let it go. The more you really, really believe that imagination creates reality, whatever I think about has to be shown to me, the more you believe this, it's going to be easier for you to believe it, and it's going to be easier for you to let it go. Okay? Okay, this takes a little bit of work, but it can be done. Now, let's go to the last point. The last point is the 3-4 weeks is not a rule, it's a pattern of faith. So this is the whole premise of the video, okay? Kind of coming down to the last point here. And that's what I was trying to explain in the beginning of the video. Maybe I didn't explain it very good, but that's not the point of doing it right in the beginning of the video. But listen, the whole thing about the 3-4 weeks, it's not a rule, okay? But it's a pattern of your faith. Now, what do I mean by faith? Now, I like to play with words. Faith means belief. So let's switch it up here. 3 or 4 weeks is not a rule, but it's a pattern of your belief. Okay, the faster things come to you, it means you really believe they're going to come to you. You really believe it. So when things come to you rather quickly, you believe it's going to happen. Or you've totally just let it go and let it be, and it happened within a couple of weeks. Okay, now even for myself, thinking about the 3 or 4 week rule, even for myself, a lot of things I've manifested, honestly, when I think back, even doing this video, and I wasn't even thinking about this yesterday. Wow, this just came to me in this video right now I'm recording, is a lot of things have come into me within 2, 3, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Honestly, okay, because for whatever reason, I've totally believed I could have it, and I totally let it go. I totally surrendered to it. Okay, I moved on with my day. I didn't look for the how. And once you can really detach from it, that's when time speeds up, my friends. Okay, so let's continue on here. Neville never said it takes 3 weeks. He said it takes the time it takes for you to feel it real. Isn't that so true? And I kind of want to clarify this too. Like in none of Neville's lectures or whatever, he never said it only takes 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, this is just a pattern I saw within his stories that he shared within the law of the promise. Okay, but never said it only takes 3 weeks, only takes 4 weeks for your assumption to become a reality. He never said this. Okay, he really said it takes the time it takes for you to feel it real. You understand? That's the truth. Okay, even if it takes you a year to manifest what you wanted, that's the time it took for you to feel it real. That's the time it took for you to totally believe you can have what you want. That's the time it took. Okay, and listen, probably what happened, even if it took you a year to manifest something, probably 100% what happened, that whole year of you convincing yourself you can have what you want. But once you totally believed you can have what you want, you probably got what you wanted within 3 or 4 weeks. Okay? That's probably what happened. Most of that year was you not believing you can have what you want, for you not believing you can have your dream life. Okay? Once you just woke up one day and you totally let it go, and you let it be, you totally surrendered to it, you totally started believing you can have it, that's when it came to you. Okay? The whole year was just a practicing zone for you to actually believe you can have what you want. You understand what I'm saying? So let's back up. Let me read this over again so we can move on and finish up this paragraph. Neville never said it takes 3 weeks. He said it takes the time it takes for you to feel it real. But for most people, when you truly surrender to your assumption without effort or strain, that tends to happen within a month. Okay, just like the story I just told you. For most people, I'll change the color here. For most people, listen, when they truly finally surrender to their assumption, when they finally surrender to what they want, without any effort, without any strain, without any resistance, that tends to happen within a month. Okay? Now, like I said, it could have taken you a year, but most of that year was you not believing you can have what you want. Once you get to a point where you finally surrender, when you finally have no resistance to it, when you finally believe, it usually comes to you pretty fast, within 3 or 4 weeks. Okay? That other time span is you really not believing. That's how you have to think about it. That's how I think about it. So let's wrap up this paragraph. So you could say 3 or 4 weeks isn't a delay, it's just how long it takes for your 3D world to catch up to your 4D. Okay, that's really what I'm saying. Okay, the delay is, like what I'm saying here, is just your unbelief. That's really what it is you're not firmly invested in it. You firmly don't believe, because if you firmly believed, you would surrender to it, you would let it go in your 3D world. Okay, so basically what's happening, even in my own world, okay, is there's times I'm slowing things down because I'm not firmly believing I can have it, okay, because I'm looking for it in my 3D world. All I'm doing is slowing it down. But as soon as I let it go, as soon as I stop thinking about it, as soon as I stop thinking about the how, okay, as soon as I stop, honestly, within a month, it comes into my life. Okay, let me give you an example really fast to wrap this up. And if you're hanging around this long, I think I've told this video a couple times in some videos, but not so much. I don't retell this story so much, so you probably never heard it. I was making a video on the Neville Goddard. What video was I making on the ladder technique? And I really wanted to film it as the authentic ladder technique. So this whole video probably took me a whole week. I did a few days of major research. I put the video together. I recorded it, and I think it took me 2-3 days to edit. So at least a whole good 7 days to do this video. Right in the middle of me doing the video, I kind of had this idea, and I still haven't done it today. I had this idea to make a spoof video of Neville Goddard's ladder technique, but I would call it the penny technique. And And it was just an idea, but I was right in the middle of doing the ladder technique video. So I was kind of in my imagination that I would make this spoof video about the pinning technique. It would be identical to the ladder technique. But I went inside my imagination, kind of how I was going to do the video. I was scripting it out in my head because that's how I do most of my videos. Most of my videos are not scripted. Okay, even if I'm following something I wrote, it's not scripted. Okay, so usually I'm just kind of I'm in my head. Okay, I'm kind of rehearsing it in my head before I do the video. Okay, about this pinning technique. But then I kind of stopped myself because I thought, okay, I can't go down the rabbit hole with this because I want to finish Neville Goddard's ladder technique. I want to finish this video first. Then after I finish this video, I will do the pinning technique video. I will do the spoof video. Okay. But then what I did was I finished the ladder technique video. I forgot about the pinning technique video, the spoof video. And once I finished the ladder technique video, I moved on to another video, moved on to something else. Okay, listen, within 2 or 3 weeks later, after I made this video, I totally forgot about this spoof video, the pinning technique, totally forgot about it. Aang and I, because I live in Thailand, Aang and I lived in Hua Hin at the time, just kind of as a spoof, we wanted to drive around. Okay, we were kind of in that mood. Go out, drive around, kind of drive around the mountains and stuff like that, take the motorbike out. So that's what we did. So we're driving around, and when you drive around in Thailand, they'll have little mom and pop shops and stuff like that driving around. So we knew the area we were at, so we were kind of driving by. It was super hot out that day. Aang was crazy thirsty, and we were kind of driving by. We knew this mom and pop shop, and we knew another one wasn't coming up for a while. So I said, let's stop here. At first, Aang didn't want to. And I said, well, let's stop here. You're crazy thirsty. We're going to snack. We'll get something to drink. And, there's not another one for a while. That's what we did. Didn't think anything of it. And, we buy a drink, not beer. I know where your mind's going. We bought a snack, bought some water. And they have a little picnic table there. We're sitting at it. I finish my water, finish a snack. I stand up. I throw it away. So I'm standing. Kind of how it's almost identical how I'm sitting here, but this would be Aang sitting. I'm standing beside her because I'm kind of waiting for her to finish her drink and snack because I'm going to take it and I'm going to throw it away. So I'm standing. All of a sudden, Aang looks at me and she's like, "Oh, go over there." And she points and she goes, "Go over there. There's one baht laying on the ground. Go over there and pick it up and bring it over to me." One baht in Thailand is equal to 1 penny. Okay, but 1 baht is silver. The penny is, of course, we know what a penny looks like, the copper color. Okay, and I look over, I don't see it because it's silver and the sun was shining that day on the cement, so I didn't see it. So I look over and I said, "Oh, there's nothing." I look over to her and I said, "There's nothing over there. I don't see it." And she points again. She's like, "Yeah, there's 1 baht over there. Walk over and pick it up and hand it to me." And I look over again and I said, "I don't see anything. There's nothing over there." And she's like, "No, you got to walk over. If you walk over, you see it." So I walk over and I turn to her and I said, "I still don't see it. There's no 1 baht here." And she's like, "No, you're standing right over it." So she's like, "If you look down, you're going to see it." So when I looked down, I was like, "Holy shit, there's 1 baht." So I lean down, I pick it up, and I'm walking over to her. And as I'm walking over to her, I'm handing it to her. Once she takes it, we're like this. I have the 1 baht right here. I think I have 1 baht in here. I'll show you. Oh, this is 5 baht. Do I have 1 baht? I do. I have 1 baht in the drawer. Okay, I'm in Thailand, so this is 1 baht. Okay, almost the same size as a penny, but it's silver. Okay, and so I have the baht. So this is Aang's hand. This is me handing her the 1 baht. Once it connects like this, I have an aha moment. I'm like, holy shit, that's the penny technique. That's my spoof video I was going to do because I was going to do the penny technique. The spoof video was going to be identical to Neville Goddard's ladder technique, but instead of a ladder, it was going to be a penny. And right when she touched it, I was like, holy crap, that's my spoof video. That's the penny technique. I literally did the penny technique. Okay. That's exactly how, if you did a ladder technique, that's exactly how the ladder exercise kind of transform itself. Okay. But get this, the whole point of this was that when you totally just let it go and forget about it, most of the time what you want comes to you within 3 or 4 weeks. I've had some big things come to me within 3 or 4 weeks. And I was just kind of making this video, me kind of just thinking about it because I'm on topic here. Okay, but the threshold is, if it's taken longer than that, we're in our way. Okay, we're getting in our way because we're either obsessed with it, we're constantly thinking about it, we're constantly thinking about the how, we're constantly looking for it. You know what I mean? And that creates resistance, and it keeps it away from us. Okay, this is why, to wrap up this video, this is why Neville Goddard always said in his trainings, his live lectures, in his books, some of his books, he always said, persist in your assumption. Why would he say that? Persist in your assumption. What is the law of assumption? I'm quizzing you again. The law of assumption is what you assume to be true has to come into your reality. But Neville Goddard said, persist in your assumption. Because if you persist in your assumption, you will always get what you want, but you have to persist. You can't give up. You persist in your consumption, with your assumption. You persist and you consist. You don't give up. Why would he say that? Because Neville Goddard knew in the beginning, when you first start practicing imagination creates reality, you're not going to believe it. Okay? And it's not going to come to you because you don't believe it. You understand? Once you believe it, it has to come to you. Once you believe that what you want has to come to you, that's the law of assumption. Whatever you assume to be true has to be proven to you, has to be shown to you, has to come into your life. Okay? It's going to come immediately. It's going to come really within 3 or 4 weeks. Okay? That's the power you have. And the second power is we got to let it go. See, once you let it go, you're not attached to it no more. Once you let it go, that's a nature of belief. You're believing it. Just like with my spoof video that I was going to make on the penny technique, and I should make a whole video on this, is that I naturally just let it go. Okay, I firmly believed it. I was doing a video on the ladder technique. I firmly believed, hey, I'm going to make a spoof video. Then I really went in my mind, and it was only for like a few days, a couple days, me thinking about the spoof video. I was in my mind, rehearsing it in my mind. I could see me doing the technique exactly like the ladder technique. Okay, but it's a penny, and I could see it transform. Okay, but I stopped myself because I was in the middle of making the ladder technique video. So I stopped myself and said, no, okay, first let me finish this, and then I'll make the spoof video. But then I totally forgot about it, totally let it go. Okay, totally surrendered to it because I totally forgot about it. And when you forget about it, you detach from it. That's usually when it happens, and it happens rather quickly. Okay, just like in this video, just like dissecting Neville Goddard's clients and all the people he mentored. Most of everything that came into their life happened within a 3 to 6 week period. Okay, it happened rather fast. Okay, once they believed it to be true for them. You understand that? But other than that, my friends, this video is rather longer than I thought. But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Comment below. And I'd love to hear your comments. And even if you're struggling with this information, try to comment. I'll try to answer all my comments. I'll try my best to help you out as much as possible. But other than that, remember, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.